We're here today in the third floor podcast studio of the Nebraska Land Bank building. We have the new Mayor of North Platte, Brandon Kelliher, and his lovely wife, Terri Burchell, with us today.
I really enjoyed our conversation with Terri and Brandon. We get to hear about how life has changed since his taking office and how he's balancing his career with being mayor of North Platte. And Ty, before we get to today's episode, I just have to ask you, did you notice when we were recording, I didn't notice at the time, but when I was listening back to the episode, I caught it, that I misspelled the word whale, as in the mammal. Did you catch it when I said it?
Well,
be honest.
I did. And how you can check spelling in a verbal podcast, I don't know. But when you asked that question, I seriously didn't know if you said well, as in ground well, or whale, as in flipper. Or no, not flipper. Free Willy.
Yes. So if you're curious why we're talking about whales, the WHALE, whales, listen to the podcast and make it all the way to the end and you'll catch my misspelling. I do know how to spell whale, WHALE. Hi, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Ty.
Together, we are hosting the Nebraska Land Bank podcast. We promise this isn't some boring bank podcast.
That's right. We aim to entertain. Listen in every other Monday and we'll tackle topics like finance, business, sports, community events, and maybe even a course or two of great food finds.
We're always community-minded.
Every voice.
Every topic.
Every time. So turn the volume up, settle in,
and let's talk Nebraska Land. Okay, here we are. We're a few episodes in to our podcast. Ty, how do you think we're doing?
Well, I think we're doing all right. I mean, there's been some highs and lows. Of course, we're probably our own toughest critiques. But if you take the marketing director of a bank and a chief lending officer of a bank and you put us in a podcast studio doing something we've never done before, I think we're doing all right.
I hope so. I hope that the listeners are enjoying it and get my sense of humor and appreciate my lack of a filter. Although there is some editing happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple things I'm not going to tell the world about that have been edited out of these podcasts. But no, I think you're doing a great job. I mean, the thing I enjoy about getting to sit and talk with you, Danielle, is we both come from very different perspectives of what goes on in the bank every day. I'm working in the trenches with loan officers and customers and people working on home mortgages and different things, and you're out there trying to sell the world on our bank. So it's fun to come together and have these conversations.
It definitely is. And bringing in guests and then kind of hearing a little slice of their worlds too has been really interesting. And I hope that everybody listening finds value in it and finds it interesting as well.
I've really enjoyed it so far because it really, each time we're sitting having those conversations, I'm getting to know these people better than I already do. I'm learning things about them. We're asking them some interesting questions. And I come away from it thinking, hey, if I need to do this a little better, or I need to be proud of what goes on in my life or the community like this. And so this is a lot of fun. Okay, well, we've got a great moment in the short history of the Nebraska Land Bank podcast, and that is having our first major political figure in the studio today. So I want to welcome Brandon Kelliher, the mayor of North Platte, and his lovely spouse, Terri Burchell. So nice to see you guys here in the Nebraska Land studio.
Well, thanks for having us.
This is the first time I've been called a major political figure. I appreciate that, Ty. Wow.
Well, again, we've got a short history in our podcasting, and this is the first time we've had an elected official. I guess I'm an elected official on city council, but this is the first time we've had a mayor or a governor or a senator in. So this is exciting.
This feels special for us.
Okay. Well, thank you. This is going to be fun.
Well, great. Well, we're going to dive right in. I think the first question I've got for you guys today is for listeners that don't know about your careers outside of you now being the mayor of North Platte. Why don't you guys give us a couple minutes just on what you do in your daily life and your careers?
Great. I'll start. So I'm the foundation director at North Platte Public Schools Foundation. So that's been exciting. That's just been since June. And I find it ironic that I start fundraising positions when, like in 2008, there was maybe that small little economic downturn that occurred. And I started fundraising then. And now we had a pandemic and I started fundraising again. So I obviously like challenge. So yes, happy to have a great board that supports the foundation, and we manage over 30 different scholarships and several different funds.
You know, it just hit me. I think we've got 4 North Platte High alums here, right? Is that right?
Gosh, I'm a North Platte alum.
Yeah, and Terri is, and Brandon is.
Oh, so, here in this room. I thought you meant like at the bank.
Yeah. No.
Oh,
I mean,
funny. That's great.
I'm
That's
talking in the
awesome.
microphones today. I think we're all 4 alumni at North Platte High. So that's something to be proud of with
That
our
is.
podcast.
Yeah.
No
awesome.
kidding.
Now, wait a minute. Now, Terri and I graduated from the original high school here in North Platte. Well, not the original, but the long-term high school in North Platte. Which one did you two graduate from?
I was the first class to graduate from the new high school. So all of my years in high school were at the original building, but we graduated from the new building, the first class to do that, which is kind of cool.
Yep. I'm between you guys age-wise, and so I graduated from the old building. Now, I was in the first class that I think had 6th grade at Adams Middle School.
Okay.
And so God bless Mayor Shad, Mrs. Shad, phenomenal math teacher. And she got stuck with me in 5th and 6th grade. So anyway.
I know. Isn't it amazing how teachers just, that one person or several teachers make an impact and you remember them forever.
Yep. I give her a hard time every time I see her that if any of the interest rates or math are wrong here in Nebraska land, it's got to be on her. But, so,
well, how about you, Brandon? What's your day job?
Well, I have 2 jobs. Of course, I'm the mayor of North Platte, so that's my most recent addition. But for 23 years prior to that, I've been at Great Plains Health in the IT department. I've been the chief information officer for about the last 6 years. But when I started back in 1998, I was the guy that unboxed the computers and fixed the network and did that sort of stuff. So I worked through the ranks of the hospital here at North Platte, and then I became the chief information officer, or the head nerd, as I call myself, about 6 years ago. So I'm in charge of all the technology for the hospital, all the surrounding clinics, as well as the biomedical department, which is the folks that fixes all the medical equipment in the hospital as well.
Great.
It keeps me busy and occasionally keeps me up at night. So
I bet.
Well, one thing we're really interested in hearing about is, as you've oriented yourself to City Hall, what's something none of us would know or suspect? What's a little secret that would surprise us about in your orientation to City Hall? What's something unusual or unexpected you've run into?
I suppose the one thing that really surprised me is that when I went to Washington School, so I'm from North Platte as well, of course, I guess we discussed that already, but and when I was in 5th or 6th grade, the class came down to City Hall, which was a relatively short walk from Washington School, and visited, I believe it was Mayor Betty Peterson at that time. And we went into the mayor's office, and we got a little tour of City Hall at that time, as I recall. And at that time, the mayor's office was where the city administrator's office is now. The offices are reversed at this time. What's interesting is that the same exact paneling that was on the walls in the late 1970s is still in the mayor's office. And so it's been kind of interesting. I've looked to see if somebody's scribbled a date anywhere or something, and there's a lot of holes in the paneling there. The people have hung shelves and done things like that. And so we are actually getting rid of the paneling. We've joked about maybe selling little pieces of it as commemorative items for the city of North Platte. And of course, that's a joke. Funny. I'm just kidding. But
gosh, I was going to sign up.
If you want one, just show up on the right day. You can have one. But getting it back to the, I don't know, probably drywall that's painted, something along those lines, and nothing that's particularly expensive being done internal to the city. But one of the reasons that we're doing that is because we're trying to grow. We're trying to bring new things to North Platte, and to have your mayor and city manager's office looking like 1966, which was a good year. But
yes, that's when I was born.
I know, that's why I had to say that. But it's important. And so what's surprising to me is how some of the things in City Hall have been there for a very long time. It's a good piece of history. If you look at all the pictures and things like that in City Hall, and you walk around and really sort of take a minute to absorb them, there's some nice, cool history of North Platte hanging in those hallways. You kind of take it for granted as you walk down the hall, and you don't think much about it. Sometime when you're there, stop and take a look at all the pictures. Look at those really old pictures of North Platte and think, wow, what a difference 50 years makes.
But wait for his office to be redesigned.
Yeah. Not so much redesigned, but rewalled might be a way to say it.
Updated.
Yes, there we go. Updated.
It is interesting for me whenever I'm there for a city council meeting you kind of have these occasional surreal moments, and whether that be when you're doing the Pledge of Allegiance or when you're looking at the old pictures. And I don't quite have my finger on it, but there's times where things just kind of catch you historically in City Hall. Do you find yourself having those little, surreal moments? Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
You're not the only one. If you look at the pictures of all the different councils that are on it seems to be the east wall there as you come in the main door. If you look back, there was quite a few years where the city council met around a table that would easily fit in this room. And now we have the sort of spread out area, of course, because of COVID and things like that. But the table that we sit in front of today has been around for quite some time. And it still works pretty well.
It does.
So what are some projects that are happening at the city that you are most excited about? Well, aside from the update,
the ones that I'm most excited about, I can't tell you about. Unfortunately, at this
come
time.
On.
No, I'm sorry.
You can't give our listeners a little sneak peek. No.
I can tell you that 2021 is going to be an exciting year in North Platte based on some of the things that are being that are in the works right now. Of course, probably not every one of those will come to fruition, but if even a couple of them do, it's going to be an exciting time for North Platte. There's no question, and probably more exciting than we've seen in at least a couple decades. So let's hope that happens.
Well, and I'd say that you seem to be excited about developing the scorecard. And it sounds like the employees there, not that he tells me everything, but that's something that like pops up continually is just that's something that he said he was going to do when he was campaigning and getting that developed and all that work. But he's good at that strategy and just that transparency piece. So I would say that's something you're excited about. You might not know it, but
it is. I think she measures this by what I talk about when I come home. But just this week, we got the scorecard committee established, and they're going to start meeting here, I think, in week after next. And they'll meet every week for about a month, and then we'll have the scorecard. We'll release it to the public, and we'll start tracking. And of course, that's important because we need everybody in North Platte to be headed in the same direction in order to improve our community. So that's the reason we created the scorecard, is to put something out there for people to focus on. They'll know where we stand, and they'll know what we're doing about the issues, and we can equally celebrate our successes.
Got to know the score of the game. Got to know where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's exciting to me. You talked about the employees being excited about this. I think that's really interesting because I suspect that people that work in government have the same objectives of people that work at the hospital or at the bank, and that's that they want to be part of a winning team. I think most of the people,
Agree.
90% plus of the people that I meet in North Platte, Nebraska, want to be part of a winning team. And so one thing I'm excited about is the business management history that you have also being interjected into the city and starting to bring that business world and that political world together a little bit. And I think that'll be good for North Platte.
Well, thanks, Ty. I appreciate that. And I think that you asked me about what was the most surprising thing at the city. I wouldn't say this is particularly surprising. It's more of an affirmation. But there are many people who work for the city who are some of the hardest working people we have in this area. I mean, we have a lot of hard workers. Yeah. We're in the middle of Nebraska. Goodness, we're surrounded by them. But we have people that have been there for many, many years, and they put in 12, 13 hours a day. I mean, it's not uncommon for them to do that because that's what they have to do to get the job done. And it's just impressive. And if you didn't work there, you will never know about it. And probably only because I've been in and out of the city at different times, early in the morning and into the evening, would I even know that that's occurring, because they didn't tell me. I just ran into them. And then I ask other people about them. Are this person here all the time? Oh yeah, she's there all the time. She probably works 60 hours a week. And you wouldn't think that if you wouldn't know that if you didn't work there. That's just the way it is. So it's impressive.
Yeah, sometimes there is a little stigma out there for people that work for the government that they don't have the same work ethic as people in private business. And I know on my time in city council, that is absolutely not what I've witnessed. And it's consistent with what you're saying as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Terri and I delivered some stuff on a Saturday over to the mayor's office, just things that I wanted to put in there. And
I had to get pictures so that we could place where the new furniture might go.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's right. No, that's right, though. But so we walk in, and there were 3 or 4 people in there working. I honestly, I didn't expect to see anyone. And the place was almost close to a normal day on that end of the building because there was something going on that had to be resolved. So
yeah.
So you mentioned that Brandon doesn't tell you everything, but it just made me think, and it made me curious. Do you get a lot of questions now being the wife of the mayor? I mean, do people come to you to get the inside scoop or to bring their concerns to you or whatever that may be?
I do have several of his cards in my purse for those questions. There are a few I try to call the mayor's office, get an appointment with him. If you have a question or concern, I can't speak for him. I can give my opinion. But yeah, there have been a few people that have, what do you know about this? And especially with all this vaccine stuff, they're like, I see Brandon's involved. Thank goodness, and he's good at bringing people together and collaborating. And so, yes. So I think there's a good synergy going on and when that happens in a community, I think everybody wants to know what's going on. And I'm just so excited. It's about positive stuff. Let's focus on that. We're growing, we're getting somewhere, and everybody does want to be a part of a winning team. But I do have his card if you need his number.
Well, on that same line of questions, so let's say you guys go out and have dinner on a Friday night here in beautiful downtown North Platte. Is that different now than it was before he was the mayor of North Platte? Do people come to you and talk to you about things, or is it different?
I think right now, for me anyway, I don't know that we've seen the difference just because of the DHMs in place. Mm-hmm. So I think people are trying to be respectful of each other's space still, which is nice. And I think we already knew a lot of people in the community. So I don't know that it's changed too much. There's probably a few more people that I don't know that he knows that come up to the table now, but not too many.
What I do notice is I get a few more double takes. We'll be walking down the street and they'll look at me and then they'll look again. Oh, that's that guy that I saw in the paper or something like that. Or I have just a little bit of a distinct voice. So once in a while I'll notice when I talk across the room, somebody will go, well, I must have heard him on the radio or something like that. But no one has accosted us in the restaurant and talked to us for an hour or anything like that at this point. Mayor Livingston told me that will happen at some point. So just anticipate that things like that are going to happen to you once in a while. And I think that was good advice. And it's important that the citizens that can come up and talk to the mayor. It's important that we're approachable, and we're probably not people who are ever going to have an issue with that, as long as it doesn't get to the point that we can't go out and have dinner once in a while, because we do get tired of each other's cooking. There's no question about that.
Yes, this is true.
And just for the record, Bucks, Terri does most of the cooking and I do most of the cleaning. So we get tired. We get tired of my cooking. Typically, not so much hers.
I think everyone in town likes his cooking because he takes turns going to different restaurants and bringing it home.
That's how Jared cooks at our house, too.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
What about when let's say you're driving to work or you're driving down to City Hall, or as you're throughout the community, do you guys look at things differently? Are you thinking about different things? I mean, do you find yourself, as you're driving through a neighborhood, thinking more about the community? I'm just curious of how that's maybe changed for you through all this too.
I think, let Terri offer her opinion too here, because it may be a little different. We realized a lot of things about North Platte when the campaign was going on, because we had to go to every part of the city to plant signs, to talk to people, to do different things like that. And we all have our typical routes through the city. We go from home to work, we go to the grocery store, we go to wherever we have dinner once in a while, we go to a family member's house, maybe a few friends. That's about it, really, in town, usually, for most of us. Well, when you're campaigning, as you know, Ty, you get to go a lot of places. And so we saw some pieces of North Platte that we had, I shouldn't say never seen before, but we may not have seen for a long time. And it was interesting. Do we look at it differently? I suppose that sometimes when I'm going down the street and I see a problem with the street or a problem with the curb or a light out or something, I make a mental note, I need to tell somebody about that as I'm going down the street. So we get that taken care of. When I get into the parts of town where I think this road is gravel and it would be better for the citizens if it wasn't gravel, I start thinking, what can we do about that doesn't put those folks in economic jeopardy, but it makes their condition better? Whereas 5 years ago, I'm not sure I would have just thought, I wish this street was paved, so I'm not worried about the paint on my car. But other than that, I don't know that I think about things differently.
There's somebody bigger than us that always has a plan laid out for us. And I think me being in my new job helped with that. I didn't realize, and I would challenge everyone to get outside of their bubble. drive down those different streets, encounter those different people, no matter who or where you see them, whether it's at the coffee shop, tell them hi, spread that kindness, all of that. Because I do think, even as we had a conversation about Brandon running for mayor, it's one of those things where you do look around your community and you say, how can I make a difference? And you just kind of, I don't know if you get that when you get older or something and your kids are gone and you're like, okay, now what? I think we just had our own little bubble and we had our own little ways of getting to work and our own little ways of doing our stuff that him becoming mayor has challenged that a little bit. It's been exciting. And we do have those conversations of, wow, wouldn't that be great to have this in our community? And how many people would rally around that? And again, having those positive thoughts of just the possibilities that can happen and just making that happen. And that's what we did when he decided to run for mayor, and now he is mayor. So here we go.
Well, it probably didn't hurt that he had one of our town's marketing gurus in his corner for the campaign. So you probably deserve a lot of congratulations for the success of this as well, Terri.
Yeah, that was kind of fun. I'd come up with this idea of like, honey, I think we should do this. And she'd politely listen to my idea. And then towards the end, she would roll her eyes and go, no, we're not doing that. This is like, why? And then she'd tell me, okay. Yeah, you're right. Bad idea. Sorry. Move on. Okay. Go ahead, Ty.
Well, marketing's interesting because I think it's a little bit like being like a good chef or something. Everybody thinks they can do your job, right?
Oh my goodness, yes.
I mean, everybody thinks they can do marketing.
Yes.
And one thing Danielle's taught me over the 12 or 13 years we've worked together is that it's a talent that's above what people think they can do. And there is a science and a perspective that goes with it. I mean, Danielle has convinced me over the years that I'm not always right about everything on marketing stuff. And I think she's taught us all that here at the bank, that there is a science to it and there is ways of analyzing things. And so you guys are in an interesting profession because everybody thinks they can do it.
They do. And don't you find, Danielle, that there's pieces or snippets of their ideas that you can use?
Absolutely.
But yet, it's hard to verbalize to them because your mind just works differently as a marketer. Mm-hmm. And it's like, why don't they get this? This is not a good idea.
Yes. Well, too, everybody looks at things through their own lens and everybody has a different perception. And so that's something I constantly have to remind myself of too, is not to look at everything through my lens. I have to look at it through the lens of whomever we're the target audience is or whatever. And so that's what I think people do is they look at it through their own lens and maybe don't consider what somebody else might think or understand or see. So it's so much fun, but it can be a challenge.
Yes, it can. It's a good challenge.
It is.
It's fun.
Yeah, and we're having a lot of fun with this launch of the podcasting concept. So that maybe brings me to a question. Do you guys like the podcasting arena? And are there podcasts you like to listen to? Is this something that you guys like to do?
I love that you guys are starting a podcast. I was listening to, now I'm going to forget, it was a murder series thing.
Like true crime.
Yes. Because I used to travel with my old job quite a bit. So I always did that. And then I kind of got into Ed Millett's podcasts. I guess I always try to find, what I found is I've got to find those positive ones because I was doing the true crime thing and then I'm like, okay, no, this is
like looking over your shoulder when you leave Walmart.
Oh my gosh.
Well, sometimes the music on those is like haunting.
I know, exactly. So I'm like, okay, I got to find some positiveness here. So yes.
Yeah, there were a couple nights I came home and she had a knife in her hand when I came to the door. I'm like, okay, honey, maybe I was done. I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. That didn't happen.
What about you, Brandon? Are you in the podcasting environment?
I have a couple of podcasts I listen to once in a while. I'm kind of a self-improvement junkie. I like to listen to the YouTube videos when people talk about that. When I'm mowing the lawn, I have my headset on and that's what I'm listening to. And I don't have any one particular person that I follow. I sort of listen to a bunch of different perspectives. And I think what you realize over time is that a lot of people have pretty much the same perspective. They just have a different way of presenting it. If you want to improve something, you have to focus on it and improve it. with regard to podcasting, there was one I used to listen to once in a while, but to be honest, I can't remember the name of it now because I caught up with all of them they had, and then I guess I went on to the next thing, and I just didn't go back to it. But it is something that is growing in the medium of the internet, where anybody theoretically can communicate with anybody. I'm kind of happy it's happening, because I think the true effect on society is that it's making people who are different than us understand us, and it's letting us have a better opportunity to understand them, which is just great for the human existence across the board, in my opinion. What do you listen to, Ty? You don't listen to yourself all the time, do you?
No, I try to avoid listening to myself. No, I listen to a lot of sports, national sports. I'm a big NFL fan.
Oh,
so
sure.
whether that be fantasy football stuff, NFL, that type of thing, I listen to a lot of sports podcasts. I listen to a lot of finance-related podcasts. I listen to a lot of business leadership stuff. I like the self-talk part of listening to podcasts. I'm usually an early riser, and I tend to find my energy from listening to some of that stuff. I'm usually watching the stock market and the interest rate market by 6:30 or 7 a.m. But before that, I like to have a little time of listening to somebody. Well, in a prior episode, we talked to Dr. Lee Warren, and as an example, his message about his self-brain surgery message, or his message about responding instead of reacting. Those are the kinds of things, even if it's just 10 minutes in the morning, it helps me frame my mind a little bit for the day. And I find that helps me be more efficient at work, and hopefully a little easier to work with my coworkers.
Well, it's obviously working. You figured out what you need to fill your bucket every morning so that you can be productive as well.
Well, do you want to talk about banking things for a minute, Danielle?
Yes, let's just break. And I want to say that today's episode is brought to you by Nebraska National Bank. We are a member FDIC and equal housing lender. And Ty, I have a confession to make. I do not use online bill pay to pay my bills. And I feel like I should, because I hear all the time here at the bank about the ease and why it's safer to do that than using the online portals of the places that you're trying to pay, utilities, et cetera. So it's something that I know that I need to do. But I guess one of the hurdles that I have is I have this idea in my head that, and maybe it's irrational, or this fear that my payment is going to be late. And so I don't understand how to structure it. And so I'm hoping that you can give me some information that might help me as I try to make this transition.
Well, this is an interesting topic. So we're looking at our statistics here a couple months ago on bill pay usage at the bank and with online banking. And I was actually shocked at how low the percentage is, because I frankly can't imagine not using it. I mean, you go in and you enter, municipal light and water or insurance bill or whatever you want to pay, and you literally just type in the amount going forward, push enter, and it pays it, and it line items it in your bank statement. It takes it out of your account right away or on the day you schedule it. And so I've just been mind blown, because to me, versus writing checks or going to every payee's website, it's just so easy and so convenient. So I've been thinking about this subject. I'm thinking about, well, why don't people like it? And I think it's because they don't understand the inner workings of it. So here's how it works. If a bank has online bill pay, which most banks today do, you're going into your online banking, you go to bill pay, and you enter that I want to pay somebody. Well, at that point, most banks either have a room where they work this, or they have a centralized outsourced provider. At that point, they either have an electronic relationship with who's getting paid, and they send them the money via what we call an ACH, which is basically banker talk for an electronic payment, or they actually cut them a check. So, like, for example, if you went to the local furniture store and you bought a piece of furniture and they came out and delivered it and they sent you an invoice and you wanted to pay that through bill pay, well, if they're not set up electronically, then that bank or their provider will just simply mail them a check. And I think that's what scares people, is because, like in our online banking, you can go through bill pay and you can see what's electronic and you can see who's getting a manual check. But I've been using it for years, and I find that the people getting a manual check always get it. It's very dependable, probably more dependable than me writing a check and dropping it at the mailbox. And they get it timely, and it's very well identified. The other thing you'll find is that the merchants in today's world are very used to getting the checks from online bill pay. So you got to venture out a little bit, because I'm telling you, this is good stuff. So here's what we're going to do. And you guys can talk for a minute while we're asking Terri and Brandon what they think about electronic bill pay. I'm going to pay my electric bill. Okay. Seriously. Like
Okay.
I'm doing this for real. I called Jackie and I said, what's our electric bill? Because I know it's due sometime around the first of the month, coming up here in a week or two. So I'm literally going to pay our electric bill as soon as you say go. I'm going to start. Hang on. I got to get the amount here because it's not fair if I have to look that up. And we're going to do this. Okay. I got it. Okay. So I'm going to ask the question for Brandon and Terri to talk, and then I'm going to just interrupt and say done as soon as
Okay.
it's done. Okay. So I'd like you guys to talk about how you see paying bills electronically.
I feel like we should whistle the Jeopardy song.
I know.
Okay.
No
Just
kidding. No, I love electronic bill pay. So my question is, with your bill pay, are you able to schedule it out? So currently what I do is I have it scheduled every month. This is the amount I owe to like.
Done. Sorry to interrupt you.
Nice.
Okay.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
That was fast, Ty.
Wasn't that fast? So can you set it up to do monthly, say you're on payments with the gas company or electric company, whatever. So it's whatever, $50 every month. Can you set it up to just always pay $50? Or do you have to go in every month on yours to?
There's multiple ways to do it. So one thing you can do is you can set up the payees, and then every month you can control the amount and the date. You can also schedule them out through the online banking platform. Now, on our mobile app, which is what I just used, you don't currently have the ability to schedule out the date. So like when I just paid my electric bill, it'll generate it today or tomorrow morning. But in the online banking platform, you can actually pick the days, or you can set it up reoccurring to where you don't have to do it. But it's not going to know the amount. So if the amount
Right.
varies, then you need to do a little manual function. But I can usually do, if Jackie or I are paying bills, I can usually just line them up, type in the amounts, and pay a set of bills in 30 seconds, maybe a minute. So it's really handy.
Well, that would be handy if you knew your amount, or even had the ability to go in and, like when I do Culligan, it's a set amount every month. But when we get the salt delivered, it's a little bit more for that next month. So I can go in and just alter it, and it's paid. And then I never have to even go in there. It's just done.
I'm telling you, Danielle, you're missing out.
Well,
You are.
I have been thinking about it just from a safety standpoint. I know that I feel better about using the bank and not giving my card information on all of these sites online. So,
Oh, absolutely.
so I'm convinced.
Yep. I think you got to try it out. Well, for all of our listeners, we've found that it's probably an underutilized service. And so just come in and talk to us at the bank or give us a call, and we'd be happy to go through it with you. And don't feel embarrassed about being a little intimidated by the technology of the process, because I find even among our staff, I think a big number of our staff have been hesitant to use it. And so you're not alone out there.
I would agree. Well, really quick, before we move on, I want to give a quick shout out about our Women of Achievement event. We're seeking nominations now. Those nominations need to be submitted by March 8th. So if you're interested or know of a woman of achievement that you'd like to nominate, I just ask that you submit your nominations. You can do that in paper at any Nebraska National Bank branch, or online at nptelegraph.com/exclusive/WOA. And Brandon, you attended Women of Achievement with us last year. I don't know what you thought about that event, but hopefully you enjoyed it. And hopefully you and Terri can make an appearance this year too.
Well, yes, if the COVID situation allows, I'm sure
That's true.
that we'll be there. I thought it was a fine event last year. It was interesting for me to be in a room that was nearly 98% women and maybe me and two
you
other
loved it.
males.
You loved it.
Well, of course, I work in a place that's 85% women, so I'm kind of used to being around a lot of
Yeah.
women. But anyway, it was I thought that not only were the people that were honored, just extremely honored and extremely emotional in a couple of cases. It's great when you can attend any feel-good event and honor people's experiences and what they've accomplished, because we all do, and I mean a great many people do so many things that's just what we did that day. But to other people who maybe haven't had that chance for experience in their life, that's really something impressive. And so I think it's inspiring to people to see others get honored and think, hey, I could do something like that too. And then they make a difference in their community. And that's what's important. That's what makes
Absolutely.
communities better.
Absolutely. I always leave that event feeling very inspired. So Well, I think it's a good time to begin our trivia game. We're going to do trivia based on North Platte. So, Brandon, we're going to ask you the questions.
Oh, no.
And if you don't know the answers, then Terri can be your lifeline.
I can phone a friend. Okay.
Ooh.
That's good. Phone the wife. Okay.
Yeah. Now, the game is you will receive $100. If you get the majority of the questions correct, you'll receive the $100 to donate to a charity of your choice. If you lose the game and the majority is incorrect, then we keep the $100 and we let our next guest play for $200 to donate to a charity of their choice. So,
goodness, the pressure is unbearable. Okay.
Plus, your wife's like a nonprofit director here. So, I mean, it is getting a little warm in this room.
That's right. It's like, what happens if we win? She gets to decide.
Yeah. Okay, what are the images, or let's do it this way. What are at least 3 of the images in the city seal?
There's an NP. There's a picture of Buffalo Bill. And there is a representation of the Platte Rivers. And there's a representation of the courthouse as well. Did I get any right?
You got 2 right.
Oh.
There's Buffalo Bill and a representation of the Platte Rivers. There's a train.
Oh.
There's a cow. A plow.
The courthouse isn't in there?
No. There's I-80 and Highway 83.
Okay.
I think that's it.
I wonder if I was looking at an old one, maybe, because there's one on the city wall there.
Is there?
Yeah, but
I don't think I could have gotten any of it, honestly.
Okay.
We might have to fact check that one because I also thought there was a...
We're just going to give it to you.
Okay.
You're probably right. Maybe this is like an updated version or something.
It's probably, I'm sure it has evolved over the years.
I'm sure. You did a good job.
Just by way of we're talking about making sure that we have a standardized logo on all the city vehicles for the city of North Platte, and it's likely to be that logo. So
great.
The vehicles, they have them in varying sizes. So we're talking about getting the same one on every vehicle.
Look at you marketing.
I know. That's amazing.
Look at him go.
I've learned a few things over the years.
Yeah. Okay. Question 2. During World War II, North Platte was famous for what?
Oh, goodness. The North Platte Canteen.
Good job. This one's easy too, or at least I think it's easy. Okay. According to visitnorthplatte.com, more than 200,000 will spend about 6 weeks in the North Platte River Valley.
Let's go with Sandhill Cranes.
Good job. That one was too easy. Okay. Name one of North Platte's nicknames over the years.
Flat Rock.
Good job. Other ones are Little Chicago, Hell on Wheels.
Okay,
I don't know what that one's about.
Can we talk about Flat Rock for a minute?
Let's do that.
Okay. So I graduate from high school in 1994 and I leave North Platte and I spend 9 years away. And I come back to North Platte, come to work for Nebraska Land Bank about 19 years ago. And this Flat Rock name had become kind of a thing. And I think that surfaced in that time frame I was gone. Because I don't really remember.
70s.
It was in the 70s?
Maybe even before then.
Okay.
It might be because my dad has like a plaque that it was like the Flat Rock Car Club.
Okay.
Like way back.
So maybe it just became more prominent or I began to notice it at that point in life or whatever. So does that tie back? I've heard numerous things about this. Is the truth that ties back to the handle on the CB radios for North Platte? Is that the truth of the founding? Or
that would make sense. That would really make sense.
I don't know, but I know somebody who I can ask. So we'll have to get back to you on that.
I want to know more about the Hell on Wheels.
Oh, that's the reference to the UP Railroad.
Oh. Well, I feel silly, but I'm not the mayor.
Did you have the big motorcycles coming through and everything?
I had no idea. Okay, true or false? Is it illegal to go whale fishing in Nebraska?
Whale fishing? I'm going to go with whale fishing. Yes.
True. Correct.
Because you can contaminate the well, probably principally.
I have no idea where.
And so that's well, W-E-L-L. I assume
like
that's not
as in
whale. Whale like
oh yeah,
like Free Willy?
Yeah, sorry. That's W-A-L-E.
Oh.
Really? Huh. Okay. Well.
The things you find on Google.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
You might have to look into that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I guess I got that one on pure luck. Okay. Well. Moving on.
You win $100.
Oh.
Who would you like to make your $100 donation to?
Oh, you were supposed to ask my wife that question.
You decide.
Oh, goodness. Well,
You-
I suppose
you don't need to.
Is there anyone that you would like to give it to, honey?
Let's do Positive Partners.
Okay.
That's great.
Perfect.
Fantastic
Positive
It
organization.
partners.
is a fantastic
It is.
organization.
Yes.
It is. There's a ton of fantastic organizations in this community. It's amazing.
Mhm. That's true.
Certainly.
So
Thank you guys so much for joining us for this late afternoon podcast. It was a pleasure speaking with you both.
thanks for having us.
Yes,
This was
thank you for
fun.
having us.
Good luck with all your endeavors on this. You're doing great, I think. What do I know?
You're one of those people we'll be calling to critique it from the outside. 'Cause
Yeah,
I know
would
you'll be
love
honest
to.
with us about it. but-
Anytime.
Yeah.
Yes, I would be honest.
No,
Yes, we'll have to look up the Google Analytics on your attendance. It'll be interesting to see.
yeah, it will be. No, thank you guys so much for spending some time with us today. It was really interesting.
Thank you.
Well, if you'd like to learn more about our podcast, visit nebraskalandbank.com/podcasts. And if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the show so you don't miss any episodes. Leave us a review and find us on Facebook. Thanks for listening to the Nebraska Land Bank Podcast. Community minded, every voice, every topic, every time.